The cargo ship Eternal Dawn came home on a cold Tuesday morning. Captain Park Dawn stood on the bridge and watched the station grow larger in the view screen. Orbital Station Hanil 7 floated in the darkness of space like a metal flower. Lights blinked on its many arms. Small ships moved around it like bees around a hive. It had been a long trip. 3 months in the Vega cluster, collecting rare minerals from dead asteroids. Nothing special. Nothing unusual. Dohan had made this run many times before. "Docking in 5 minutes," said his pilot, a young woman named Kang Nari. Dohan nodded. He was tired. His crew was tired. 43 people had spent 90 days in a metal box, breathing recycled air and eating food from packages. They all wanted to go home. The ship connected to the station with a soft thump. The crew lined up for medical checks. This was normal. Every ship that returned from deep space had to pass through the medical bay. Doctors looked at their eyes, checked their blood, asked simple questions. Everyone passed. Everyone always passed. Dohan signed the final papers and walked to his quarters on the station. He took a hot shower, ate real food for the first time in months, and went to sleep. He did not know that he had brought death with him. 3 days later, a woman named Cho Minji collapsed in the station market. She was buying vegetables when it happened. One moment she was reaching for a tomato. The next moment she was on the floor, shaking. People gathered around her. Someone called for help. By the time the medical team arrived, Minji was still. Her skin had turned gray. Her eyes were open but saw nothing. Dr. Yoon Sora was the first doctor to examine the body. She was the chief epidemiologist of Station Hanil 7, which meant she studied diseases. She had seen many strange things in her 20 years of work. She had never seen anything like this. Minji's lungs had turned to crystal. Not stone, not ice, crystal. Beautiful and terrible, like frozen glass growing inside her chest. Sora cut open the tissue and held it up to the light. It sparkled like a diamond. "What is this?" she whispered. More people got sick. 10 on the first day, 50 on the second. By the third day, the number was past 200. Admiral Bae Junho watched the reports from Earth with growing horror. The station held 15,000 people. At this rate, they would all be dead within a week. "Quarantine the station," he ordered. "Nothing goes in. Nothing comes out." The people on Station Hanil 7 understood. They were scared, but they understood. If this thing reached Earth, if it reached the colonies, billions could die. They would stay. They would fight. They would hope. Dr. Sora worked without sleep. She studied the thing that was killing her people, but she could not understand it. It was not a virus. Viruses were simple, just bits of genetic code wrapped in protein. This was something else. It was alive in a way she could not explain. It learned. It changed. It was almost like it was thinking. The death count reached 500. Then 800. The station morgue was full. They started storing bodies in empty cargo bays. Sora watched a young boy die. He was maybe 10 years old. His mother held his hand as the crystals spread through his body. It took 6 hours. The boy was brave. He did not cry. When it was over, Sora went to her lab and sat in the dark for a long time. Then her computer beeped. She looked at the screen. The computer had been running tests on blood samples from everyone on the station. It had found something strange. Patient 847, Kim Yuna, female, age 26, maintenance worker. Infected on day 1, still alive on day 6. Sora ran to the medical bay. Yuna was sitting up in bed when Sora arrived. She looked tired but healthy. Her skin was normal. Her eyes were clear. She was eating rice porridge from a small bowl. "How do you feel?" Sora asked. Better, Yuna said. I was very sick before. I thought I was going to die. But then the fever broke and I started to feel better. Sora took blood samples. She took tissue samples. She ran every test she knew. The results made no sense. Yuna had been infected. That was certain. The thing had been inside her body, trying to change her like it changed all the others. But it had failed. Yuna's body had fought back. Her immune system had done something impossible. It had looked at the alien invader, studied it, and built a weapon against it. In 3 days. Normal immune responses took weeks or months to develop. This had happened in hours. How? Sora asked out loud. She looked at Yuna's genetic code. What she found made her drop her tablet. Yuna's DNA had changed. Not much, just a tiny fragment. But that tiny fragment was not human. It was something else. Something alien. The thing had tried to rewrite Yuna, but Yuna had rewritten it instead. Sora called Admiral Bay on a secure channel. I found something, she said. I found hope. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, still connected to the station, Captain Park Dawn lay in a coma. His body was fighting the same battle that Yuna had already won. He was the only other survivor from the original crew. In his dreams, he saw something. A shape in the darkness. Something old. Something vast. Something waiting. He tried to remember what he had seen on that asteroid in the Vega cluster. He tried to remember the thing that had moved in the shadows. But the memories slipped away like water through his fingers. Outside the station, Earth turned slowly in the darkness. 7 billion people went about their lives, not knowing how close they were to extinction, not knowing that one ordinary woman had just changed everything. The news spread across Earth like fire. A survivor. Someone had survived the alien plague. Scientists and doctors from every country dropped what they were doing and focused on one name, Kim Yuna. Professor Choi Tai-woo got the call at 3 in the morning. He was sleeping in his small apartment in Seoul when his phone rang. The voice on the other end was Admiral Bay himself. We need you, the Admiral said. Pack a bag. A ship will pick you up in 1 hour. Tai-woo had spent 30 years studying human genetics. He understood how DNA worked, how it changed, how it passed from parent to child. He thought he knew everything there was to know about human biology. He was wrong. 12 hours later, he stood in Dr. Sora's lab on Station Hanel 7, 2. Other scientists stood with him. Dr. Shin Mira was a virologist who studied the deadliest diseases on Earth. Lieutenant Han Ji-won was a military bioengineer who had worked on secret projects that Tai-woo knew nothing about. Together, they formed Research Division Omega. Show me, Tai-woo said. Sora put Yuna's genetic data on the big screen. Tai-woo looked at it for a long time. He looked at the alien fragments that had mixed with her DNA. He looked at the antibodies her body had created. This is not possible, he said quietly. But it was real. The data was right in front of him. Yuna's body had done something that should take millions of years of evolution. It had taken the enemy's weapons and turned them into shields. It had not just fought the infection. It had learned from it. Her immune system adapted in real time, Myra said. I have never seen anything like this. Neither have I, Tai-woo replied. Neither has anyone. They worked for days without rest. They studied Yuna's blood. They mapped her changed DNA. They tried to understand how a simple maintenance worker had done what no doctor or scientist could do. Then the bad news came. Colony Minjae was on the outer edge of human space. It was a small world with 50,000 people, mostly farmers and miners. It was far from Earth, far from help. The plague had found it. Admiral Bay appeared on screen with a face like stone. The new strain is faster, he said. Victims now die in 36 hours instead of 72. Yuna's antibodies do not work against it. Taiwu felt his heart sink. They had found hope, and now that hope was gone. The thing is learning, Myra said. It is evolving to beat our defenses. Then we need to evolve faster, Jiwon said. They threw themselves into their work. Days blurred together. Taiwu forgot what sleep felt like. He drank coffee by the liter. His eyes burned from staring at screens. On Colony Minjae, people were dying. The death count rose every hour. 500. 1,000. 2,000. Then something strange happened. A schoolteacher named No Yoonji got sick. She was 32 years old with 2 children. The doctors told her family to prepare for the worst. But Yoonji did not die. Like Yuna, her body fought back. But the way it fought was different. Instead of creating antibodies, her cells learned to break down the crystal structures. The thing tried to turn her lungs to glass, and her body simply dissolved the glass back into normal tissue. A different solution to the same problem. On Station Kyungho, another survivor appeared. A dock worker named Lee Hyunwoo had developed enzymes that neutralized the plague before it could even start working. Another solution. Another adaptation. Taiwu gathered all the data and stared at it for hours. There was a pattern here. He could feel it. The answer was close. Then, at 3 in the morning, he saw it. It is not random, he said to his team. Look at this. Every survivor has a different adaptation, but they all use the same basic method. Their bodies all access the same genetic pathway. What pathway? Myra asked. One I have never seen before. It is not active in normal humans. It has been sleeping in our DNA for thousands of years, maybe longer. The alien plague woke it up. Jiwon leaned forward. You are saying we have a built-in defense system? Yes, and we did not know about it because nothing had ever triggered it before. Our ancestors must have faced something like this long ago. They evolved a weapon against it and passed it down to us. But we have no record of that, Myra said. Evolution does not need records. It only needs survivors. The team worked faster. Now they had a target. They knew what they were looking for. Yuna, Yoonji, Hyunwoo, and the other survivors were brought together. Their blood was mixed. Their DNA was compared. The sleeping pathway was mapped and studied. What they found was beautiful. The human immune system was like a river with many branches. Most people only used a few branches. But in times of great danger, new branches could open. The body could access tools that had been locked away for generations. The alien plague had pushed humanity to the edge, and humanity had responded by unlocking its hidden potential. We are not creating one solution, Taiwu told Admiral Bay. We are creating thousands. Every survivor has a different piece of the puzzle. Together, they form something greater than any single cure. Can you spread this? The Admiral asked. Can you wake up this pathway in everyone? We are working on it. Give us time. But time was running out. The plague was spreading to more colonies. Each new strain was stronger than the last. The alien thing was learning and growing. Still, Taiwu felt something he had not felt in weeks. Hope. Humanity was not helpless. They had weapons they did not know about. They had strength sleeping in their blood, waiting to be called. In her hospital room, No Yoonji looked at her children through a glass window. She could not touch them yet. It was not safe. But she could see them, and they could see her. She waved. They waved back. Behind her, the doctors took more blood samples. They needed to understand her gifts so they could share it with others. Yoonji did not mind the needles. She did not mind the tests. If her blood could save her children, she would give every drop. Captain Park Dawn opened his eyes. The hospital room was white and quiet. Machines beeped softly beside his bed. Tubes ran into his arms. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy, like it was made of stone. A doctor appeared above him. "Captain Park, can you hear me?" Dawn tried to speak. His throat was dry. "Water," he whispered. They gave him water. They ran tests. They asked him questions. He was the only member of the Eternal Dawn crew who had survived. 42 people had died. Only he and Kim Yuna remained. His memories were broken. The trip to the Vega cluster came back in pieces. Asteroids, rocks, darkness, mining drills cutting into stone. And something else. There was a structure, he said slowly. On one of the asteroids, we found something. Dr. Sora leaned forward. "What kind of structure?" Dahong closed his eyes. The memory was slippery, hard to hold. Big, very big. Made of something like metal, but not metal. It was wrong. The shape was wrong. Like it was built by hands that were not human. "Did you go inside?" "I do not remember. I think it was alive." Admiral Bay listened to the report with a heavy heart. The plague had not appeared from nowhere. Dahon and his crew had found its source somewhere in the Vega cluster, and they had brought it home. "We need to go back," he said. "We need to find this structure and understand what we are fighting." The battlecruiser Unconquered was the largest ship in Earth's fleet. It carried 2,000 crew members and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Captain Osungwon commanded her with steady hands and careful eyes. Dr. Shin Mira joined the mission. She had studied the plague longer than anyone else. If they found the source, she would know what to do. The journey to the Vega cluster took 3 weeks. Sungwon used the time to prepare his crew. He told them what they might find. He told them to be ready for anything. He did not know if he was ready himself. The asteroid appeared on their screens on the 20th day. It was larger than they expected, nearly 50 kilometers across. Its surface was covered with strange marks, like writing in a language that no one could read. And at its center was the structure. Sungwon stared at it through the view screen. His mouth went dry. It was not a building. It was a body. Something had died here millions of years ago. Something so huge that an asteroid had formed around it like a shell. The structure Dohan had found was just one small part of it. A hand, maybe, or a finger. "By the stars," Mira whispered. "How big is it?" The scans came back. The body was nearly 30 kilometers long. It was made of materials that the computers could not identify. And deep inside, something was still alive. A heartbeat. Slow and faint, but real. The thing was not dead. It was sleeping. "I need samples," Myra said. "I need to understand what this is." Sungwon sent a team in small landing craft. 20 soldiers and 10 scientists touched down on the asteroid's surface. They walked through tunnels of alien bone and metal. They collected pieces of tissue that glowed with inner light. In the ship's lab, Mira studied the samples. What she found answered many questions and raised many more. The creature was old. Older than Earth. Older than the sun. It had drifted through space for billions of years, sleeping and dreaming. The plague was not a weapon. It was a way of making children. It spreads its genetic material through other species, Myra explained to Sungwon. The plague rewrites the host body, turning it into something new. Eventually, the host becomes an extension of the creature itself, like a seed becoming a tree, Sungwon said. Exactly. This thing has done it before, many times. The computer found traces of 17 different species mixed into its genetic code. All absorbed, all turned into parts of the whole. 17 species, 17 civilizations, erased and consumed. But we are different, Sungwon said. Myra nodded. Yes, When it tried to rewrite humans, something went wrong. Our bodies took its genetic code and used it against it. We did not become part of it. We became something new. We ate it before it could eat us. In a way, yes. Sungwon thought about this. On one hand, it meant that humanity had a chance. On the other hand, the creature was waking up. The heartbeat was getting stronger every day. Soon it would realize that its children had not been born correctly. It would try again, and next time, it might succeed. The ground team found something else deep inside the structure. A chamber filled with crystal pods. Each pod held a body, humanoid but not human. Creatures from other worlds, preserved for eternity. These were the successes, the species that had been fully absorbed. They slept inside the creature, waiting for the day when they would be needed again. One of the soldiers touched a pod. The body inside opened its eyes. The team ran. They barely made it back to the landing craft. Behind them, the tunnel began to shake as things started to wake up. Sungwon ordered the ship to pull back to a safe distance. On the screens, they watched the asteroid tremble. Cracks appeared on its surface. Light spilled out from within. The creature was rising. Mira sent her findings back to Earth on a priority channel. Professor Tai Wu and his team received the data and started working immediately. "We know what it is," Tai Wu said. "We know what it wants. Now we need to find a way to stop it." Jaewon looked at the image of the waking creature. How do you stop something that has lived for billions of years? Something that has absorbed 17 species? Tai Wu thought about Noa Yoonji. He thought about her unique adaptation, the way her body could break down the crystal structures. "We do not stop it," he said slowly. "We give it something it has never faced before. We give it humanity." On the Unconquered, Captain Sungwon watched the creature rise from its ancient sleep. Its body was vast beyond imagination. Its eyes, if they were eyes, burned like small suns. It saw the ship. It saw the tiny humans inside. And for the first time in billions of years, it felt something new. Fear. The creature spoke. Not with words, but with something deeper. People across the colonies woke from sleep with the same voice in their heads. A voice like thunder. A voice like time itself. "You are different," the voice said. "You interest me." On Station Hanel 7, a young woman named Go Yuri heard the voice and smiled. On Colony Minjae, an old man named Beek Taesung fell to his knees and wept. Across human space, millions of people felt the touch of something ancient in their minds. The creature called itself nothing. It had no name. Names were for things that could be separated from other things. It was everything. It was the beginning and the end. But humans gave it a name anyway. Progenitor 1, General Quan Dan, stood in the war room on Earth and watched the reports come in. She was 60 years old with gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in 3 wars and won them all. But she had never fought anything like this. "It is not just attacking our bodies," one of her officers said. "It is attacking our minds." Dan nodded. She had seen the reports from Colony Sulti. 300 colonists had stopped fighting. They had walked into the crystal fields and let the plague take them. They believed they would become something better, something eternal. They were not forced, the officer continued. They chose this. "Then we need to give people a reason to choose differently," Dayan said. She made a decision that shocked everyone. Instead of isolating the infected colonies, she ordered them to stay connected. Ships would continue to travel. People would continue to mix. "Every time we face a new strain, we adapt," she explained. "Isolation means we stop adapting. We need exposure. We need to keep pushing our bodies to evolve." The scientists understood, even if they were afraid. Professor Tai Wu supported the plan. Every survivor they had found came from a population that had been heavily exposed. The more the plague attacked, the stronger humanity became. But the plague was just one weapon. Progenitor 1 had others. On Colony Solji, the 300 colonists who had surrendered woke up changed. They looked human. They walked like humans. They spoke like humans. But their eyes were wrong. Too bright. Too knowing. They began to spread the voice. "Join us," they said to their neighbors. "The pain is only temporary. What comes after is forever. You will never be alone again. You will never be afraid." Some people listened. The idea of eternal life, of becoming part of something greater, was hard to refuse. Especially for those who had lost family to the plague. Especially for those who were tired of fighting. The war was no longer just about survival. It was about what it meant to be human. Dan called an emergency meeting with the research team. Taiwu, Mira, and Ji-won joined through video link. The survivors were there too. Yuna, Yoonji, and Hyunwoo. "We need a weapon," Dan said. "Something that can hurt Progenitor 1 directly. Not just a cure for the plague. An attack." Taiwu looked at his team. They had been working on something. It was risky. It was crazy. But it might work. Eunji's adaptation is special, he said. Her body does not just fight the plague. It breaks it down and absorbs it. She takes the enemy's strength and makes it her own. Yoonji shifted in her seat. She was not a soldier. She was a schoolteacher. But she understood what they were asking. "We can amplify her adaptation," Taiwu continued. "We can turn it into something that spreads like the plague itself. A genetic weapon that uses the creature's own pathways against it." "You want to infect it with humanity," Dan said. "Yes, we want to give it something it cannot absorb. Something that will absorb it instead." The room was quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Someone would have to carry the weapon to Progenitor 1. Someone would have to get close enough to deliver it. That someone would probably not come back. Yoonji spoke. Her voice was calm. "I will do it." Everyone looked at her. She was small and thin, not a warrior by any measure. But her eyes were steady. "My children are on Colony Minjae," she said. "If this thing wins, they will become part of it. I will not let that happen." The scientists worked for weeks. They took Yoonji's unique DNA and made it stronger. They created a delivery system that could spread through Progenitor 1's entire network. If it worked, every creature connected to it would be affected. The converted colonists on Sulji felt what was coming. They sent messages to their families. They begged them to stop. "You do not understand," they said. "Progenitor 1 is not evil. It is the next step. Evolution. We are becoming something perfect." But Yuna had a different view. She had felt the plague inside her. She had felt it trying to erase who she was. "They talk about becoming something greater," she said. "But I felt it. There is no you inside that thing. There is only it. What they are calling perfection is just death with extra steps." Hyunwoo agreed. "I would rather be a small, imperfect human than a piece of something perfect." The Unconquered prepared to return to the Vega cluster. Captain Seungwon had taken damage on the first mission, but his ship was repaired and ready. His crew was scared but determined. Yoonji said goodbye to her children through a video screen. They were too young to understand what was happening. They waved at their mother and told her to come home soon. "I will try," she said. "Be brave. Be good. Remember that I love you." She ended the call before they could see her cry. On the night before departure, Dan visited Yoonji in her quarters. The general had seen many soldiers before battle. She knew what fear looked like and what courage looked like. In Yoonji, she saw both. "Are you sure about this?" Dan asked. Yoonji nodded. "I am a teacher. I spent my life helping children grow. This is the same thing. Humanity needs to grow, Progenitor 1 is in the way. You might die. Teachers know about sacrifice. Dane reached out and took her hand. Whatever happens, your children will know what their mother did. History will know. You will not be forgotten. Yoonji smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. I do not need to be remembered. I just need them to be safe. The next morning, the Unconquered left for the Vega cluster. Inside the ship, 2,000 crew members prepared for the battle of their lives. Inside a small cabin, No Yoonji, schoolteacher from Colony Minjae, carried the weapon that might save humanity, or destroy Progenitor 1, or both. The Unconquered dropped out of hyperspace into hell. Captain Seungwon had expected resistance. He had not expected this. The space around the asteroid was filled with ships, if they could be called ships. They were made of the same strange material as Progenitor 1, shaped like crystals and bones. They moved without engines, somehow pushing themselves through the void. There were hundreds of them. All weapons online, Seungwon ordered. Get us through to that asteroid. The battle began. Human ships were smaller, faster, and built for war. The alien vessels were larger and stranger, but they were slow. Seungwon used this advantage. His pilots danced between the enemy ships, firing weapons and dodging attacks. But the aliens learned fast. Too fast. After the first hour, they began to predict human movements. After the second hour, they started landing hits. Ships exploded in bright flashes of light. Good soldiers died in the cold of space. Seungwon watched the numbers on his screen fall. 2,000. 1,800. 1,500. Still they pushed forward. Deep in the ship, Yoonji sat in a small room with Dr. Myra. The weapon was inside her now, encoded in her cells. When she reached Progenitor 1, she would release it. Her body would become the delivery system. How do you feel? Myra asked. Yoonji considered the question. She felt strange. Stronger than before, but also different. Like she was more than herself. Ready, she said. The Unconquered broke through the enemy line and approached the asteroid. The surface was covered with new structures now, grown in the week since their last visit. Towers of crystal reached toward the stars. Rivers of light flowed across the rock. And at the center, Progenitor 1 waited. It had fully emerged from its asteroid shell. Its body stretched 30 kilometers from end to end. It had no clear shape, no face, no limbs. It was made of everything and nothing. Looking at it hurt the eyes. But it had eyes of its own. And they found Yoonji. I know you, the voice said in her mind. You are the one who should not exist. The one who ate what I gave instead of becoming what I made. Yoonji felt pressure in her skull. The creature was trying to break into her thoughts. She pushed back. You do not belong here, the voice continued. You are a mistake. An error in the pattern. No, Yoonji said out loud. You are the mistake. You think you are the end of evolution. But evolution does not end. It changes. It grows. It becomes something new. The Unconquered shook as something hit it hard. Alarm screamed. Seungwon's voice came over the speaker. We cannot hold this position much longer. Whatever you are going to do it now. Yoonji stood. Mira handed her a small device. This will boost the signal when you are close enough. You need to touch the main body directly. I understand. Yoonji walked to the launch bay. A small shuttle waited for her. She would fly it alone. There was no reason to risk more lives. The shuttle door opened. Cold air rushed in. Outside, she could see the battle still raging. Human ships fighting against impossible odds. Soldiers dying to give her this chance. She would not waste it. The shuttle launched. It was small and fast, hard to hit. She flew it toward the great body of Progenitor 1, weaving between blasts of energy and reaching crystal arms. The voice pressed harder against her mind. "Stop," it said. "I can give you what you want. Life without end. A place in something greater. Your children will be safe forever. They will never know pain or loss or death." Yoonji thought of her children. Their faces appeared in her mind, clear as photographs. She loved them more than life itself. But she knew what the creature offered was not life. It was absorption. Her children would exist, but they would not be themselves. They would be cells in a body that did not care about them. "No," she said. The shuttle entered the main body through a gap in the crystal shell. Inside was darkness and light mixed together, biology and technology twisted into forms that made no sense. Yoonji flew deeper, following the pulse of the heartbeat. Finally, she reached the core. It was like standing in the center of a sun. Light pressed against her from every direction. The voice was everywhere now, not just in her mind but in her bones, in her blood. "You cannot destroy me," Progenitor 1 said. "I am eternal. I have existed for billions of years. I have absorbed 17 species. I am the universe becoming aware of itself." Yoonji climbed out of the shuttle. Her feet touched the core, warm and pulsing with ancient life. "Maybe I cannot destroy you," she said, "but I can change you." She activated the device. The weapon inside her released. It spread through her body and into Progenitor 1 in a wave of genetic information. Human adaptability amplified 1,000 times. The ability to take what is foreign and make it your own. Progenitor 1 screamed. It was a sound that traveled through space without needing air. Everyone heard it. Soldiers on the battlefield. Scientists on Earth. Children on Colony Minjae who woke from sleep wondering what was wrong. The creature that had consumed 17 species was being consumed itself. Human DNA was spreading through its network, rewriting its code, breaking down its barriers. Everything it had absorbed was coming apart. Everything it was became uncertain. Yoonji felt it happening. She felt herself becoming mixed with the creature, and the creature becoming mixed with her. For a moment, she was everywhere. She was ancient. She was vast. Then she was herself again, falling through darkness, wondering if this was death. She did not feel the hands that caught her. She did not see the shuttle pilot, a young woman named Kang Nari, the same pilot who had guided the Eternal Dawn home months ago. Nari had volunteered for the rescue mission, knowing it was probably suicide. She found Yoonji floating in the dying core and pulled her out. 6 months later, the crystals began to dissolve. Across human space, the infected colonies watched as the structures that had killed so many crumbled to dust. The converted colonists, the 300 from Solji and thousands from other worlds, collapsed and then woke up again. They were different now. Not fully human, not fully part of Progenitor 1. Something new. Something in between. Professor Taiwu studied them with wonder. Their bodies had kept the useful parts of the alien DNA and discarded the rest. They were stronger, faster, and would live much longer than normal humans. Evolution had not stopped at survival. It had taken the enemy's gifts and made them human. On Earth, Admiral Bay spoke to the United Colonies. "We came to the stars, expecting to find things greater than ourselves. We were right. But what we learned is that greater does not mean better. The universe threw its worst at us, and we did not just survive. We adapted. We grew. We became more than we were." In a hospital on Colony Minjae, No Yoonji woke from a long sleep. Her children were beside her bed, older now, but still hers. "Mom," her daughter said, crying. "You came back." Yoonji smiled and touched her daughter's face. "I promised I would try." In her blood, Human and alien DNA existed together in peace. She would live for centuries. She would see her children grow old and have children of their own. But more than that, she would see humanity reach further into the stars than ever before. She would see them face new challenges and adapt to each one, because that was what humans did. They survived. They changed. They grew. And nothing in the universe could stop them. In a research station orbiting Earth, Professor Taiwu looked at star charts showing hundreds of unexplored systems. "What do we do now?" Myra asked. Taiwu smiled. "We keep going. We find out what else is out there. And when we do, we adapt." Outside the window, the stars waited, endless and full of possibility. Humanity was ready.